Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So glad you could join us. Today we are taking out the Tier 7 Japanese destroyer, the Shiratsuyu. I just finally unlocked this one and got my captain up to 15 points, so I have the nice concealment of 5.8. So this is part of the new Japanese line, the little offshoot destroyer line. This is, and pardon me for trying not to laugh here, supposed to be part of the gunboat line. It just hurts my head to even say that. Okay, so ignore that. This is the new Shimakaze torpedo spam destroyer. I'm having a blast with it while I can because I absolutely know that this thing is going to get nerfed into the ground at some point or another when people start realizing what it's actually capable of. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who don't realize this yet, because I've been in games and people on my own team chatting to me like, Valkyrist, how do you spam these torpedoes? So what are they talking about? So the Shiratsuyu has 2 launchers of 4 torpedoes, so that's 8 torpedoes. But if you look at my screen there, on the far bottom right, you have a consumable. And what that does is it will, regardless of what the reload state of either of your torpedo tubes are, it will, within 5 seconds, reload them to be ready to fire. And you'll see me do this where you fire 4 and 4, both your torpedo tubes, and then immediately hit the reload button. And then 5 seconds later, fire 4 and 4. So now you have 16 torpedoes in the water. And these are very nasty, very fast torpedoes. For the tier, they're fairly powerful. They go 10 kilometers, which... Okay, so we're not on the Shimakaze 20 kilometer 15 spam kind of meta that used to be, which is why it got nerfed all the hell. But at the same time, this is tier 7. So, like, we're looking here, and this is a tier 8 through 6 game. So I'm dead in the middle. So these tier 8s, like, imagine taking a tier 6 and making them face off against old school 20 kilometer Shimakaze spam. And that's essentially what this ship is. So it's ridiculous. The guns are, they're alright. They get the job done, and I do try and use them. They're a faster fire rate. The alpha damage isn't that hot on them, but they get the job done. They do help you defend yourself. When you're in smoke, you can spam a little bit and maybe catch something on fire that, already ate a torp or whatnot. But what we're doing here is I was pushing into B, and my wonderful esteemed teammate there managed to get himself torpedoed, so I don't really want to use my torpedoes yet, because I see this Fuso, and he's very isolated. And more so that he's isolated, he's drawing a lot of attention from my team. And I don't want my team to pay attention to this Fuso, because this Fuso clearly has no idea what he's doing. Like, he's way out, he's out of position, he's alone, he has no cover. What the hell he's doing over here, I don't know. But he's not a threat as far as I'm concerned. So I get as close as I feel comfortable doing and fire at my torpedoes. I don't use my reload yet. Now, he is going away from me, but he was so close that those torpedoes are fast enough, they're going to catch up. So, fire my torpedoes, fire and forget. I'm not really interested in that Fuso too terribly much. Immediately spin around. I've got about 2 minutes before I can fire more torpedoes again. So now I've got this little island in between me, so I don't have to worry about any kind of blind torpedo spam. And I'm just going to sit here and patiently wait. Now, this is an old trick from Shimakaze days, where you find corridors, basically. You remember there's a lower tier map, like wow, big surprise I landed torpedoes on that Fuso. There's a lower tier map, and like way over by where the Charlie spawn is, there's like that thing that everyone likes to call Torpedo Alley. So you want to try and find corridors. And so B on this map are 2 giant corridors on both sides of this island directly in front of me. So what I want to do is basically spam the crap of torpedoes down these corridors. At the same time, I see their team up in Charlie. They just capped it. And now they're all going to start funneling down towards me. And that's exactly what I want. So, like, even trying to get a few shots here on this this destroyer that's trying to run away. He's taking a lot of heat. And I just got cut off by that Scharnhorst. Yeah, okay, buddy. You go have fun over there. But, I'm just waiting for them. And you can kind of see on the mini-map, they're all starting to cluster up. And that's exactly what I want to happen. So here we go. Now, torpedoes are ready. I have smoke if I need it. Reload is up. And we're going to see how disgusting this is. So there's a Gneisenau now up front and center. We'll use him as the lead point. So, if you've ever watched anybody play Shimakaze, there goes the reload. And torpedoes are back up. And here comes another 4. So I'm just sending spreads out. And you can see they're all just kind of in a line, and all those torpedoes are just going to go straight at them. So you see the reload on that reload consumable. It's 4 minutes. That's for the premium. So I can't even remember what it is for the regular. It's something ridiculous. It was like 5.5 minutes or something like that. Maybe more, maybe 6 minutes. There's 2 torpedoes. They're just going to start cranking up. There's another on a completely different target. And another. And another. So, that's my evil laugh right there. There's another, even. This ship is evil. And I mean, good. I'm up at 100,000 damage all of a sudden. Yeah, nerf incoming, guys. So, if you're close to unlocking it, it's an awesome ship. Don't scrimp. Get the premium reload module, because it drops it down to 4 minutes, which you may think is an eternity, but actually it's just 2 torpedo loads. So I'll fire it. I'll get my torpedoes back up. And in fact, you can see they're getting very close to being back up right now. And then by the time that one's done, my reload module will be back up again. So torpedoes are about to go back up. I'm just going to send right back into that little cluster of ships that was coming down that corridor. Again, it's area denial, and it's kind of, you throw enough lead down range, you're bound to hit something. And that really is kind of the methodology to this ship. You're not trying to send all 16 at a pinpoint, point, like I want to hit them right there underneath, turret number 2 with all 16 torpedoes. That's not what this is intended for. This is, I'm going to pick this section of the map. And if they go in there, they're going to get hurt. And they're going to see these walls of torpedoes coming, and they're just going to go away from that area. And that's what I want. It's area denial. So downsides to this. Okay, let's do the downsides and how to counter this ship. Well, the hit points aren't that good. I do use the basics, the captain talent to give you extra hit points, just to let me survive a little bit more every once in a while when I get spotted, or when I get run down by gunships, specifically like gun destroyers, so Russian and U.S. destroyers. If you are a Russian or U.S. destroyer of any tier and you see one of these, you need to make this a priority. They do have alright kind of guns, but you can see just the ridiculous amount of damage that I can just pour out. Here I just cut engines. I've got a few seconds left on my torpedoes. I'm going to let my buddy, who's going to die very, very quickly there, yep, there he goes, pass, and thus giving me a clear firing range. And if I wait just a little bit longer, my reload is going to be up as well, which I see that Gneisenau now there has beached himself. and he is in range, so you can see I'm already got my torpedoes pointed at him. There goes the reload. 5 seconds later, I'm going to fire at him, and nothing really behind me. I am spotted, I don't really care. Yeah, fire one into that gap, why not? That's where the predicted point is anyhow. North Carolina died before anyhow, but yeah, well, okay, sure. And so did the Gneiss now, but I've still got torps going down range, so, you know, they go 10 kilometers. And the leftovers of what killed the North Carolina, which had to have been spotted. And here comes Mr. Chapiev, and... Oh, how oblivious can you be? I was all worried about him too, because he has radar. Anyhow, going back to counters, well, there is one, is radar. With 10-kilometer torpedo range, radar isn't a huge deal for me, but you've already seen me several times where, like on that Fuso, I like to try and get as close as possible. The methodology behind that is the closer you are to your target when you fire the torpedoes, it does two things. One is it reduces the amount of time that they have to react unknowingly, right? So, like, you fire a torpedo, and of course they just happen to turn. Nobody fired at them, they didn't spot you, they just happened to hit their, you know, D key. Maybe even by accident, their cat stepped on the keyboard or something and they started turning a little bit, and then all your torpedoes go by. Or, B, it keeps them as a tighter spread. So, like, when you fire, it's a cone, right? The further out your torpedoes go, the wider of a spread there is, and the bigger gap in between each one. And how many times have you seen enemy destroyers and cruisers in particular, and sometimes even battleships, just barely make their way right in between your torpedoes? That's because you fired them from too far away. If you fire them from closer, the gap is much smaller, and it's much, much, much harder to avoid that. So, that being said, though, players like me, I like getting in as close as possible, and that's why you get Concealment Expert. It's not so that, like, you know, nobody can find you. It's so that you can get closer to your targets before you have to torpedo them, which makes you, generally speaking, more accurate. So, incoming Atago. He's the last guy on the team, right? I saw my Megami here, my Megami teammate, very low on health. Megami versus Atago, I'm going to put my money on the Atago guy. So I drop my smoke. Let the Atago know that I'm here. What does the Megami do? He sails straight through it. You know, okay, I'll give him a pass. Maybe he didn't notice, or his momentum was going to carry him through anyhow, and he's just like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to power through it. Rather than slow down, make myself kind of a stationary target as I slowly glide out, my momentum carrying me out of the smoke. Fair enough. I will give you the benefit of the doubt there, buddy. I'm just trying to get out of the way so that the Atago doesn't accidentally hit me while he's shooting at you. So it's, yeah, me, a Mogami, who I'm not having real high hopes for thus far, and Turpitz. Turpitzes can be one of two things. You can be a Turpitz, or you can be a Derpitz. I haven't seen enough of him to see which he is yet. Hopefully, you know, you would think that between the three of us, we can take an Atago, who's basically half health, and fleeing for his life. Like, he's not being super aggressive and, like, really utilizing his torpedoes right and everything. Like, this should be easy. It's anything but easy. More things about the ship. It's slow. Okay, so you'll see my speed in this video, but basically cruising speed with a speed flag on is, I think, 35.5 knots. That's really slow. Like, with that speed flag, I'm basically going cruiser speed. In fact, there's a lot of cruisers out there that go slightly faster than that. And God help you if you try and turn to, like, you know, launch some torpedoes or something behind you, because that slows you down. Meanwhile, said cruiser is just pointing his nose straight at where he thinks you're at and just runs you down. And that is nothing to say of the Russian destroyers in particular. Can easily break 40 knots. This does have speed boost. I wholly use it to get out of the way of things. Never, ever, ever I use it to get to like, oh, I want to go cap that. I want to use my speed, boost to get to the cap faster. Absolutely not. I will just plug along at my normal speed. And then if things go bad, I will turn tail, pop smoke, and pop my speed boost and get the hell out of there. You'll see here I'm doing kind of wide spreads. Normally I highly recommend against doing wide spreads, but this Atago actually seems very competent. He has mastered the kung fu art of WSAD hacks and is constantly changing speed and direction. And I cannot get a beat on him. He knows that I'm back here. He saw my torps and smoke earlier. And so he's just not giving me a target. This is a good way to counter this ship. Now, if he had pointed his ship the other way, and he wasn't trying to run from these guys, and I don't blame him on this, I would have an exceptionally hard time taking this guy on. He clearly knows what he's doing. Mogami, on the other hand, I'm astounded that he's still alive. I pop smoke again. I've already asked him multiple times in the chat to please stop. Please stop. And he did briefly. And I don't understand why. He's like, you know what, screw that. I'm just going to keep going. So this time I gave him plenty of smoke cover to, really, like, it was really ahead of him. There's no way you can't see that, right? And he barrels right through. Our victory is in sight. Jesus God. So, yeah, he's dead. And we just lost some very needed points, and the Derpitz is, yes, and I'm calling him Derpitz now, has almost died as well. I didn't get a good look at his hit points when this whole thing started because I was worried about the Mogami, but I have a feeling he basically blew all of his hit points trying to chase this guy. Try and catch this Atago coming around the corner. Tried to do some predicted fire there. But, yep, there goes the Turpitz. He burned to death. So, I kick in my speed boost, and we were just talking about this. Yeah, I kick in my speed boost, point the complete opposite direction of where that Atago is going, and I run. We're going to win on cap points as long as he does not catch me. This ship is so good. But there's very little room for messing up, right? It doesn't have a lot of hit points. It has no armor. It's very slow. And it's a fairly decent sized target as well. So if you mess up on this, like you beat yourself, or you get caught by say, well, okay, so you're tier 7, you can get matched up against Farragut's and Udaloys, and those things will make very short work of you. So if you keep an eye out where the destroyers are, you're not rushing in headlong, and I'm not saying to camp in the very back of the map. I mean, at no point in this entire review will you see me in the back of the map. However, I'm not always on the front line either. You got to pick and choose your battles and have good situational awareness of where the enemies are and who's the biggest threat to you. So again, and even in chat, and I love in the chat, the Mogami tells me, hey, you need to run and hide. I'm beside myself, this guy, and I even call him out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you telling me to run and hide? Do you understand what you're doing right here? He's completely clueless. He doesn't get it. I just leave it. Again, firing torpedoes at a headlong cruiser that's very, very, very agile. You're not going to have much luck on that, but it might get him to turn away and slow down and lose some speed and buy yourself some time, because the game's almost over here. And I get one shot on him, makes him turn, and you'll notice I also turn my torpedoes so that try to anticipate where he's going to turn. Mind games. But I don't get to see if if I win, because the game's over and just a handful of seconds anyhow. Holy crap, what a great game. It's like my torpedoes had little magnets attached to the front of them. But man, what a game. So how do we do? Well, we got 400,000 credits, 12,800 XP. That was with a bunch of flags and stuff like that. Those 642 free XP, not too bad. Devastating strike, high caliber, Confederate, 170,000 damage off of 14 torpedo hits. Got 2,800 base XP, which is not too shabby at all. 150,000 of that damage was straight from torpedoes. So wonderful game. Love the ship. Waiting for the nerf. Have fun out there, guys, and I'll see you next time.